We're live. Let's go. GameDay Winnipeg, Bonfire Sports. Thanks for joining us. Darrin Bauming, Chris Walby here on the channel as always. Chris, of course, that intro video said GameDay After Dark. That'll be after the game tonight. Zach Schnitzer will join me tonight for the post game, just about an hour and a bit after the final whistle. But I'm still working. It's been busy. I'm still working on our intro video. I wanted something a little freshen up our video from last year.
Yeah, and I like the music. I like having a little bit of Jack music on it. You got to get everybody up into it. It's, it's football. It's not like we want to sit and, you just in a quiet time. We're not in the library. I'm excited. First off, I got to tell you, it's been a long time. I watched some of the games. I kind of made some Twitter comments about, again, I'm going to go on a rant, but I cannot stand these guys that do football and do not show nothing in the trenches. It drives me absolutely nuts. People don't understand that without those guys blocking or the guys on defensive line, nothing happens. But that's a moot point for now. What I'm really hyped about is getting to watch the Bombers on TV in an exhibition game, to playing Saskatchewan, who is, I think, one of my favorite rivalries.
Absolutely.
I just love when we play the Prairie province, against, we have the little rivalry with the neighbors to our west. So I'm really looking forward to the game. I know this is their first exhibition game. It's hard to believe. We're going to wrap up, and they're just playing their first game. But at least, one thing that's different, Darrin?
What's that?
If you remember the troubles that Craig Dickinson had last year in training camp, I think he lost 5 guys in one day.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Achilles.
It's nice to see that this team right now, even though they're going to play a ton of rookies, we'll get to that. But it's just good to watch football, and I'm excited.
It is a bit of a skeleton crew in Regina for tonight's preseason finale for the Bombers, preseason opener for the Roughriders, 7:30 Central, live coast to coast on TSN. And be sure to join us back here on Bonfire Sports. Bonfire Game Day After Dark, just about an hour after the game. We'll wrap things up. And then, of course, tomorrow, Wednesday, Zach Schnitzer will join me for Bonfire Midweek. It'll be our final Wednesday show. We'll get back to regular Tuesdays throughout the season, recap the week, look ahead. There's lots of storylines, obviously, Chris, with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now, wrapping camp. No Zach Collaros in Regina tonight, so we will see Drew Brown, Dakota Prukup, go head-to-head here to see who can win this number 2 job. Drew Brown looked really good on Friday in Winnipeg. Prukup, some good, some bad, threw a couple interceptions. He hung those on himself. What did you see in the quarterbacks?
I agree with you. The 5 of 14, I think he might have took a step back. The guy that I have to apologize, and I'm going to say this because I really, just from the small amount of work I saw Drew Brown last year do, it wasn't, totally blown away, wasn't that impressed. I really liked what he did. I mean, this is a guy that had a lot of composure in the pocket. I mean, 10 of 13, he a touchdown, delivered the ball, took off when he had to, didn't force anything. That's what I thought was really good. A lot of these young kids, they get happy feet and they just try and force the ball in there where it won't go. No, so from me, Chris Walby, to Drew Brown, apologies. And I hope you continue to get better, because I'm hard on you when you're not playing well, but I'm definitely going to give you the accolades when you play well.
It's tough love from Chris Walby to the players out there. And it has, absolutely. And especially with these guys that are, like in Drew Brown's case, in his second year in the CFL and first real opportunity to show what he has. Yeah, I understand he got a little bit of game action in 2021. It was crappy weather on the road. He went, 7 of 14 for 49 yards or something like that. Regardless, not a great indicator of what he has. Friday, in Winnipeg, he looked really good, composed in the pocket. There was that one time he was flushed out of the pocket and tried to throw the ball away, and it was tipped. That was the only time he looked uncomfortable. But Chris, I talked about this on Game Day After Dark, after Friday's preseason game. I was extremely impressed with Drew Brown off the field, his composure, his confidence, his air of control in his post-game media availability. I was blown away. He's, without being asked, he said, I'm small, I'm shorter than everybody, doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And then asked by the Winnipeg Free Press about maybe having a chip on his shoulder because he came from junior college and he's small and probably overlooked through his life. It wasn't like, oh, I don't care about that, but You got to watch the clip on bluebombers.com. He convinced me immediately. He said, I don't care. I honestly don't care about any of that. I care about my teammates. I care about my fiance. I care about the people on my side. I can see why the Blue Bombers hung on to Drew Brown and have confidence to only bring in one veteran to compete with him. They could have brought in a lot of guys because we know that if Zach Collaros isn't at the helm, they need someone capable to get them through a game.
Hey, listen, two of the greatest quarterbacks ever play in the CFL, Dave Dickinson and Mr. Doug Flutie. Both have faced the height thing, the argument, not big enough. Both had time in the NFL. Right. Obviously Doug Flutie a little bit more successful than Dave Dickinson, but both shorter than what they like to have as far as their standard quarterback. Both, excelled at the position. So good on you, Drew, because you know what? It's not what you bring. The size has nothing to do. It's your heart and your ability to get the game done. And you know what? It's a lot of it between the ears. You can get a lot of guys. We play with a ton of guys that are so talented, but get in the game, and it's just like the computer chip goes wacky in their head, and they can't see anything seriously, and they just panic. They black out. So I think it's. I think Bombers are sitting good. I know there was some talk. I heard in the media, hey, maybe we should be picking up, the guy that just went and signed with, got cut by Montreal. Just got signed in BC. Well, BC needed a quarterback. That was a good pickup for them. Good pickup from him, too, as well. Because obviously Toronto really likes Chad Kelly. They moved up the charts quite well. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of guys. And that's why when I looked at this thing, one of the things that jumped out at me, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it was really interesting going through the depth chart. There's not one starter on the O-line. I mean, they are. I know they're really happy about this Tomoya Machino, the fellow from Japan.
Global,
they really like him. You got Liam Dobson who's going to get a good look tonight. That's the guy they really wanted, former number one draft pick. You got a lot of young kids playing. So, there's no bigger test than to go, not only you're not at home, but on the road to a very hostile environment like it is in Saskatchewan. And you know what? You don't have a lot of veteran presence to lean on next door to you. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going over to Stanley. Hey, Stanley, what's cooking here, baby? Because right now, Stanley's at home eating some chicken. He don't care. He's got the meal. He's got the pizza. Let's watch the game, have some fun. They got a couple cold ones, I'm guaranteeing. So, it'll be interesting to see if these young kids and which ones rise to the occasion.
How many of these offensive linemen do you out there watching recognize? We mentioned Tomoya Machino. You got Ben Kazwara and Liam Dobson. Okay. Now you got Dennis Bardwell, Eric Lofton, Pat Allen, Brandon Sanford, Jalen Burks, Cameron Durley, and Leon Johnson. That's who's dressing for the Blue Bombers tonight on the offensive line.
And let me just say this. I don't recognize any of them.
No.
The only one I recognize is name-wise is Liam, because he's obviously a big signing when he couldn't play in the USFL, came back to Winnipeg. And just because I read a really nice article on, as I aforementioned, Tomoya Machino. They really like this kid. He's strong. I love the fact that, he's a global from Japan. So, those are the only two guys that I've actually heard of. So I'll be definitely watching to see how these guys react, because Saskatchewan's dressing a couple of veteran defensive ends in Keon Adams and Pete Robinson. And then you got Charbel Darby in the middle. So they're going to have their work cut out today. And we're going to see how that running game works against what I think is a pretty tough Saskatchewan defense.
Chris, I want to draw attention to a comment in the live chat. So hit up the live chat right now. You can also text the hotline. The number is right above there, 816-8477. 204-816-TIPS. Yeah. You can text, you can leave a voicemail. Maybe we'll get you on Game Day After Dark here on Bonfire. But hit up the live chat and give us your questions and your comments. Tyler Fabry, who's always in the live chat. Big shout out, Tyler. Appreciate your engagement and support. He touches on something here, Chris, that I mentioned coming out of that game, because it was like, well, how come we're not seeing more from Dakota Prukop? He's got 5 years under his belt, 6th year now in the Canadian Football League. Why did he look so uncomfortable? Well, Drew Brown went home this offseason with this playbook.
Yes.
He was in those quarterback meetings all season with Collaros and with Buck Pierce and the rest.
Well put.
Dakota Prukop was not. So he's learned a lot of different systems, time in Toronto, time in Edmonton. I think he had 2 different systems during his time in Edmonton. So, he's seen a lot and he's got to settle in. Everything I've heard, Chris, is that both Richie Hall's defense and Buck Pierce's offense, multiple, complex and dynamic. There's a lot to learn, a lot of little things to remember that just offset and change from play to play that makes the offense and the defensive system so hard to pick up from opponents.
Yeah, and I agree with the comment by Blue Bomber Brendan about Prukop's a great shortage guy, big boy back there. So I agree that's the guy you put in for the short yardage situations until he learns it and see what happens. But yeah, I think after last week, and a lot's going to be told to the game against Saskatchewan. It's a telling tape. This is where it's really going to come down, because the fact that the strength of this Bomber team, as you well know, we've talked about it from last year to this year, and it hasn't changed much, is their D-line and their O-line. Their trench people are the best in the league. And you ought to look at, on the defense, they're not bringing anybody. You got no Jake Thomas. You got no Jeff Coach. You got Willie Jefferson. None of these guys are playing. I love it, O'Shea. Mike O'Shea, you know what? Some coaches are so, I guess, stuck on winning, getting a win. Where when you only have 2 exhibition games, DB, you got it. This is your only opportunity to look at these guys. You don't want to let somebody go and have somebody else see something in that guy and pick him up, and he ends up being a big play for some other team. So good on Coach O'Shea and the organization allowing these kids to play and showcase what they can.
Shout out Don Poles in the live chat. He's watching on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Bonfire Sports TV, YouTube.com/Bonfire Sports, Twitter, and all the rest. You can find all those links, including links to our podcast. So if you're unable to catch the show or you want the audio, it'll be available soon after we go off the air live. You can find all those links on bonfiresports.ca. I couldn't agree more, Chris. These are preseason tune-ups. Yeah. And when your guys are coming off back-to-back Grey Cup championships and you know who's who and where's where, there's no reason to put them in a game and get them up to speed. Mike O'Shea says it over and over. You got to play games to be in game shape. But in 2021, they look pretty good out of the gate. No preseason for them. Of course, no preseason league-wide. But is there any concern that Zach Collaros doesn't take a snap in the preseason?
I don't think so at all. I think he knows the system. He's, 2-time Grey Cup champ, last year MOP of the league. I think that he
best player in the league.
Yeah, he's the best player. I think there's another thing that we should hit on real quick, and I know this. When the injury to Winston Rose happened, I believe when you're in a short week and you got to think about it, Friday to Tuesday, 5 days. There's another thing that comes into the coach's head, and that's, do we want to risk injuring anybody? We've got a lot of guys. So on one hand, you want to check the rookies, but on the other hand, you do want to protect your veterans. So I think there's a combination of that. But as far as Zach Collaros, I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to go in the first game against Ottawa. And I'm really looking forward to that game because we haven't seen Paula Police. A big kudos to them for their comeback win over Toronto. It was nice to see Ottawa get, the Red Blacks get a win there. But, I think Paul's got to be pretty excited about coming. I think it's June 10th, the first game here. So, boy, I tell you, that'll be an exciting time.
Shout out to everyone in the live chat. What's going on, Eric? Poopy Pants says no worries. Don't want to see an injury in the preseason, but I want to pull up this comment from Brennan. How serious is Winston Rose's injury? Okay, so here's the deal. I reported this from the Blue Bombers' only practice this week on the field, at least officially, prior to this preseason game, and there he was in a walking boot. Now, what does a walking boot mean? It can mean a serious injury. It can mean surgery happened and, you're recovering. It can also mean just precaution, like get the swelling under control, immobilize it, see what's what after 48 hours, 72 hours, that sort of thing. They need Winston Rose. He is one of the best, if not the best, cover corners in Canadian football today, and he takes on the most difficult matchups in that Blue Bombers secondary. So I'm led to believe we don't know yet. Like, so maybe don't expect it to be a serious injury. Of course, it could be, but I don't think people should be pessimistic with Winston Rose right now.
You hit on the head though, DB. I mean, that's what they usually do. That's the precautionary part. They want to settle it down. You want to secure it, and then they'll look at it and see how bad it is. Could be just stretched ligaments in the ankle. Could be a sprain. Could be anything, right? And like I said, again, you got a short week with the the preseason. Then you get a big break. You don't play to the 10th. So, I mean, basically, it's nice. You can rest a guy like Winston and have him ready for the season opener. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. But having said that, as we've talked about this, till the cows go back in the barn, that O'Shea will never tell you.
No,
he is very much one of those guys. I don't know. I haven't got maybe. It's one of those things. So you kind of have to
hopeful. They're hopeful.
Well, they're hopeful. We also, as media guys, we end up guesstimating, and that's all. That's a nice word, guesstimate. That's what we're doing.
That really is essentially what we have to do. But regardless, I think the more concerning thing is Mercy Maston.
Yes.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. No update from Mike O'Shea yet, but he will speak on it very soon. It's unfortunate when these things happen, and we'll wait for official word from the head coach. So when it comes to the defensive backs, Chris, playing tonight in Regina, Josh Miller back for another year with Winnipeg. He's fighting for a spot. There's a handful of young guys that are trying to solidify themselves. Maybe not young. He is a CFL veteran, but new to the Blue Bombers this year. Taekwon Glass. He's been playing that field side corner spot. He will dress tonight. Nick Hallett. Now, if Brandon Alexander, speaking of banged up DBs, if looking like he's not going to be ready to go to begin the regular season, off-season knee surgery, stayed in Winnipeg the entire time. Of course, that was suffered during the Grey Cup win. So Nick Hallett, who's been playing a lot of safety in training camp, he is going to dress and play. Reda Kramdi, another second-year Blue Bomber who's fighting for a little bit more playing time. Demario Houston back with the Bombers. He'll do a little returning tonight, I expect, in the kick and punt return game. Donald Rutledge Jr., number 38. He is the Bombers defensive back rookie that I am most intrigued to see. He has been at safety. He has been at that dime back spot formerly held by the injured Mercy Maston. They may have to rely on him, a true rookie and new to the CFL. Of course, some time with a couple NFL stops, Chris, but Donald Rutledge Jr., number 38, he could be the guy getting the tap to start in week 1 on June 10th.
Well, if you look at the roster, and it's a big roster for defensive backs, they're dressing 18 defensive backs.
Right.
You've got 3 that have basically played, somewhere in the CFL. Josh Miller, a little bit of a rough game last week, got beat for a touchdown in the end zone. Nick Hallett, I think, is doing a good job at the safety position. But what Brandon Alexander gives you is that fear factor. Brandon Alexander is a punisher. So it's a different kind of guy. Nick's a good cover guy, no doubt about it. But I don't believe Nick Hallett is anywhere the same physicality as a Brandon Alexander. And I don't think the receivers going across the middle are worried about seeing Nick as opposed to number 37, Brandon Alexander. So
he is a little smaller. He's probably not as fast. He probably can't. Okay, look, Brandon Alexander, people talk about the big hits, and Chris, you mentioned the alligator arms on the receivers coming across the middle and having to stare down Brandon Alexander, the Blue Bombers all-star safety. One thing people don't talk about with Brandon Alexander is that he can run all day long, sideline to sideline, next step, sideline to sideline, 40 yards downfield, down to the line of scrimmage. The guy's got lungs of a cheetah. It's unbelievable how well he can run. That is something I find that is crazy overlooked with Brandon Alexander. Of course, we're hopeful he'll be back sooner rather than later.
He's an incredible runner, DB. I mean, he reminds me of myself when there's free beer and burgers. I could just run all day. But, you know what? I love the guy for the way he plays. I told you this. I made that comparison to Benny Thompson from years ago.
Yep.
Just the ferocity of the hit, the way they put, like you say, alligator arms, or they hear footsteps. Another thing, the receiver doesn't want to go out and get the ball knowing he's going to get, crunched. So, this is an opportunity with 18 defensive backs for a lot of these guys to make something happen today. Like, I think Taekwon Glass is safe. I mean, there's some of these guys they're going to be. Donald Rutledge will be here for sure, unless something strange happens and these guys, just start getting smoked. But having said that, there's a lot of guys going into this game tonight tapping. They're in the locker room and they're just wondering, okay, man, I've got to do something. I've got to make my way. Yeah. I've got to make a play. How do I make the coach see me? How does the coach see me? How do I stand out to that coach? Richie Hall, when they break down the film, and Jordan Younger, the DB coach, they're going to grade every play that these guys get to play or participate in the game. You've got to make every one of these count. And a lot of times you'll get guys in there and they won't get any action. No fault of their own, but they haven't made anything happen. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys get chopped just because they haven't any action come their way.
Absolutely. You mentioned, Chris, players grabbing the attention of coaches. I just pulling up the roster for tonight's game at Mosaic and who's dressing. You'll notice the two quarterbacks in the top left, Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop, are the only two dressing. So Joe Mancuso, who watched on Friday night, he will not be dressed and we won't see him in that game. So they're really putting Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop through their paces to see who can win that number 2 job. Somebody in the live chat mentioning maybe they can chime up again. Dakota Prukop, bigger body, very fast. Like when he gets into open space, he can really run. Very likely to be the Blue Bombers short yardage quarterback this year. They're probably going to go back to dressing 3 quarterbacks normally, Chris, because they're able to, and you can have 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time. Chris Streveler, look out if he ever decides to come back north.
Oh, he won't be back. He's not going back.
Well, you never know. You never know, and fans want to see it, right?
I never say never, but I don't believe you'll never see number 17 back here.
But I'm pulling up. Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, you're paying the kind of money. The highest paid guy in the league is our boy, our quarterback.
Claris,
Zach Kalaris. So, I mean, there's no way they can afford to pay. And he's already tasted NFL money.
Sure.
When you're going from 700,000, you're not going to come here and play for 60.
Wherever he goes, like he doesn't have to come to Winnipeg. There'll probably be 8 other teams wanting him, right? And you can have two quarterbacks on the field. Like, think of the opportunities, right?
Yes. Well, you're a smart guy. You're an accountant. Here's what I want to know. See, it's already starting. Here's what I want to know. I'm kind of curious why they didn't dress a third quarterback in a game like this. I mean, and just give him what? Give him a half a quarter. Give him a quarter. Just as he not grasps the playbook. How do you judge this guy? I mean, obviously he's getting no action now. He is not going to go into the game in the first game against Ottawa.
Yep.
And if you're dressing 3 and you're usually keeping 3, what does that say? I don't see it as a positive.
He joined training camp late, right? So
what? Give him a little playbook. You know what? Give him 5 plays.
Well, here's the thing.
No, 5 plays. Go out there. Let's see you execute.
He can do that in practice, can't he?
No.
Like, don't you want to see more of Drew Brown? Don't you want to see more of Dakota Prukop?
You missed my point. You can see more Drew Brown and you can see more Dakota Prukop. But Mancuso, if you're going to play him, I mean, to me, this is your last opportunity. Come on. Unless something happens, you're not, in an injury situation, you're not going to see this guy. So to me, I don't get it. That's just my personal opinion. I don't get it when you're allowed to have 3 quarterbacks on the field, when you're allowed to, have a guy come on and just maybe give him 5, 6, 7 plays and just see what he can do. See his presence. Maybe, maybe he throws the ball extremely well. Maybe he takes off. Maybe he becomes a star.
You never know. That's true.
Levi. 3 touchdowns against Jake Mayer. First game ever played.
Jake Mayer, right? He went 300 yards for 6 games.
Big fan of the mayor. Big fan of the mayor. I'm not political either.
Mayor with an I, not a Y.
Mayor with an I. Thank you, brother.
So Luke Irwin is watching live on Facebook, facebook.com/Bonfire Sports TV. He says, hey guys, what do you think of Thompson? I thought he showed last week and contribute on this team sooner rather than later. Maybe he could fill in for Brandon Alexander while he's recovering from his injury. I'm pulled up the roster, no depth for the Blue Bombers tonight, but this is their roster, and that is Malcolm Thompson, the Canadian defensive back, safety. The Blue Bombers signed this offseason. He played 2 games, actually, Malcolm Thompson did, for the Hamilton Tiger Cats last year, including dressing in the Grey Cup, if I'm not mistaken. He made some plays back on Friday, Chris. And, we've been talking about the Hallett brothers. Noah, injured, has not practiced in training camp. Nick had a little bit of struggle on Friday night. Maybe Malcolm Thompson is somebody, even as a Canadian with that helpful passport, who can step in and take some meaningful reps at safety for Winnipeg.
Well, I think the biggest thing for him right now is to contribute as much as he possibly can on special teams. Mm-hmm. You know it as well as I do. That's where your first chance is to break onto the team. So if he can continue to do that and then grow as a defender and get opportunities in that defense, then I can see a bright future for the young man. But right now, with the way it is, with the way the team is set and the depth they have, I mean, as a Canadian, I'm not saying it's because he's Canadian. I'm saying he's got maybe a better opportunity here to hang around, because your team, you really need to have a good group of Canadians here on your roster. And that's how a lot of these young kids start. They all start off as special teamers. So let's see what he does. But that's a good question. I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at some other guys. Like I was looking at this Greg McCrae.
Yeah.
He did a nice job returning punts and kickoffs or I guess missed field goal. He had a missed field goal return and a couple nice kickoff returns. And then you got Kyle Borsa, who I was wanting to see. I didn't realize Kyle Borsa ran a 4.3. Listen, that's fast, man.
Yeah, I think it was 4.42. Anyway, it
doesn't matter.
Kyle Borsa is a really impressive young athlete. University of Regina. I covered a couple of his games for Canada West TV, and I was on the field reporting during a couple of their games. Kyle Borsa can play. He is big and strong. He's the tallest running back the Blue Bombers have. So, and his body this guy ain't soft. He is hard body. Like, he looks like Johnny Augustine. Really impressive body type, and clearly has the speed to burn as well. I think Kyle Borsa is under the radar as the debate between who's running back 1, who's running back 2. Is it Brady? Is it Johnny? Look out for Kyle Borsa. He's going to make things happen.
Hey,
what? What's that?
Don't come to the screen and give you an Angela Moscow.
What's the problem? What's the problem?
Johnny Augustine and Brady are 1-2.
I'm talking about the debate. I know they're one. They're 1A, 1B.
I've been saying since last year, even with Andrew Harris was here, the guy to watch out for. And I said, you better sign this guy, because he was a free agent. I said, you better sign this Johnny Augustine kid. This kid's going to be something special. I'm going to tell you right now. He reminds me, and I said this last show, he reminds me of a young Mike Pringle, and that's a hell of a compliment.
Oh, no kidding. One of the greatest of all time to tote the rock in Canadian football. Bubba. Chris, if Johnny Augustine can take that job, all the power to him. We've asked Mike O'Shea almost repeatedly, how is this backfield going to be run following the departure of Andrew Harris? 1A, 1B, it's going to be backfield by committee. But hey, like in that preseason game on Friday, it was more Johnny Augustine. He averaged 9 yards per carry. Brady, not as prolific, but still pretty good. We'll see what we get tonight. One of the people in the live chat, Chris, was mentioning, are the Bombers C team going to be able to compete, or are they going to get kicked tonight, is what Comet says as he's watching, he or she, I should say, pardon me, is watching live on YouTube. Let's take a look at the Saskatchewan Roughriders depth chart. This is their starting defense. And then you look at their starting offense. This is what I'll draw attention to, Chris. The quarterbacks right there in the middle, right above your little screen there. Domagala is the only one I recall being in CFL action before. They're dressing a pretty big skeleton crew as well, remembering that they have another preseason game on Friday on the road. So Saskatchewan's not, coming all guns a-blazing either. It'll probably be a very competitive game.
Now, DB, I think you're right, but except for one thing. I mean, Mason Fine was, I think, your third-string quarterback last year. Gala played the NFL a little bit, had a couple cups of coffee down there. But obviously, without Cody Fajardo, that's a huge thing. But look at the receivers they're dressing. McRoberts is still dressing. Jamal Morrow is still dressing. Now, Justin McInnes, Mitch Picton, guy that I really am a big fan of at the wide receiver, and Keon Schaefer-Baker. There's a lot of studs on their offense. Now, how much will they play? That's the other thing, right? I mean, you know as well as I do in preseason, this is not worth the paper it's printed on sometimes, because they got to fill out the depth chart. But a lot of these guys, as you say, because it's the first game, might not see much field time at all.
Well, let's look at who's not dressed. Shaq Evans, Nick Marshall, Kyron Moore, Duke Williams, AC Leonard, of course, quarterback Cody Fajardo, their kicker, Brett Lowther, Larry Dean, their starting middle linebacker, Godfrey Onyeka, one of the top Canadians in the league, Derek Moncrief, the all-star linebacker and dime backer, Taron Vaughn, Dan Clark, Jake Hardy, a Canadian receiver, Garrett Marino, one of their hard-nosed defensive linemen, isn't dressing either. Their long snapper, Jorgen Hus. There's a whole bunch of Josiah St. John, Logan Furland, both of those guys on the offensive line. They are this is I wouldn't call it minor leagues, but these are the guys fighting for jobs. I think it's going to be extremely competitive. Don't look at the names on the jerseys. Look how hard these guys are fighting, because there's players on each side of the field tonight, Chris, that, could, in your words, apple in a roadmap tomorrow morning.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, you missed it. I mean, the guys that of course I loved, I'm a Pitt guy. It's funny that on the suspended list, they still have, what's his name? They're running the offensive lineman, Brendan Labatt.
Mm-hmm.
Still, they're trying to talk him. He didn't want to play because of the COVID scenario.
Yeah.
Now it seems to be under wraps. They're okay with that, but they're trying to get him to come back. But once you sit out for a couple of years, you're not sure if you want to come back.
Yeah.
The guy that they have been talking a lot about, and I've done a couple functions with him in Saskatchewan, a really nice guy, really came into camp, is Charleston Hughes. Charleston Hughes went to Toronto last year because they kind of, didn't want to sign him for the money he wanted in Saskatchewan. Had a real off year, 2 sacks. I mean, he was a healthy scratch for a number of games. Went back home, worked his tail off, and just basically said, I'm going to do a camp. You come and watch me in a camp. You see how I'm playing and see if I'm worthy of another contract. They went.
Charleston did that.
And Craig Dickinson went, man, he is in shape. He looks great. So you got a healthy guy. This is the guy that led the league in sacks previous 3 years to last year. You got AC Leonard, who led the league in sacks. On the other side is not dressed. You're right. They've got some talent. I mean, I love it. This is a good team. I mean, Saskatchewan, I think, is going to give us all we can hold today.
This is my thought on Charleston Hughes. They don't have how long has he been in the league? 15 years?
Yeah, maybe 50. I don't think he's been at 50, and I think he's about 12 or 13 for sure. Yeah.
He does not need to be relied on every snap or in 80% of snaps. I think what you want from Charleston Hughes is that leadership in the locker room, that swagger in the locker room, that confidence. And then for him to come in 20, 30 snaps a game and make a huge impact. You need him fresh. You need him full of lungs. You need Charleston Hughes to be a specialist at this phase in his career. No doubt he has gas in the tank if a team is signing him, and he looked good in that camp, like you mentioned, Chris. But I think that's what you want from Charleston Hughes. So more of a specialist, I think, right now. I hope I don't get a text from Charleston.
No, you know what? I think he'll love it, because here's reading from what he's talking about, he didn't like the system he was in Toronto. He was used the way he's a pass rusher. That's what he likes to do. He likes to get after the quarterback. He loves to force fumbles. He gets after the quarterback. He deflects passes. And I think they had him doing different scenarios where they had him doing some spying, which is basically not rushing, staying there, watching the quarterback. I think he'll go back to being the guy he was before. Larry Dean, obviously, and they signed. Remember the guy they signed? And I don't know if you mentioned it, so I apologize if you did already. But the guy they signed that led the league in tackles, he was the middle linebacker for Calgary last year, Sankey.
Yeah, Darnell.
That is a pickup for Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Sankey's there. You got Larry Dean, who's coming back from an knee injury.
And then Moncrief at dime.
Moncrief at
they're
dime.
stacked in the middle. They are stacked in the middle.
This is what I'm saying. I think Saskatchewan, the West is a crazy right now. I mean, BC, you look at BC. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see anything I really liked about them. I mean, that obviously they got clobbered by by Calgary.
They got a good receiving core. It's all like the way I see it. BC can make the playoffs if Nathan Rourke has a strong season.
Yeah.
CJ Didick in the live chat right now says, hot take for the year: Saskatchewan misses the playoffs and an East team takes the crossover. If Cody Fajardo can return to his 2019 form, where he was a dynamic dual threat quarterback, Saskatchewan is going to be really good. Hey, that's my feel on it.
CJ Didick, what's that beer? There's a beer in Saskatchewan.
Oh, the Pilsner.
The Pilsner. I think CJ Didick's having a few Pilsners over there. He makes that.
Pill Country.
Saskatchewan's not going to miss the playoffs. I mean, come on.
Sometimes you can get lost in Pill Country. Have you ever been lost in Pill Country?
Oh, God. I love going to Saskatchewan. Don't get me wrong. It's a great place, great fans as well. But no, I think that right now, and it's interesting because I know we're kind of going around the league a little bit here.
Yeah, let's do it.
But Bo Levi, 3 of 10, did not look good. 2 interceptions, but they're both in the red zone.
Is he healthy? What shape is that shoulder in?
Great. He just says.
Well, he's going to say that, but is he?
Well, of course, so he said that. That surprised me. But like you say, you got Jake Mayer there. I think they got some receivers. I mean, they cut one of the guys. Was it Jordan Lambert?
Yeah, Jordan Williams-Lambert. Yeah.
He'll go somewhere right away.
Probably. Yeah.
I would think somebody will grab that guy, unless there's something behind the scenes we don't know.
Sure.
Like, we found out about that other scenario, the bad scenario with the one guy.
Jalen Saunders here in Winnipeg. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we're not going to give him any airtime. No. Bye-bye.
No. I want to bring back this comment from Richard, who's watching on YouTube. Quarterbacking in the East isn't good enough to cross over this year. This is the way I see it. And Antonio Pipkin was the quarterback the BC Lions signed. They had Thompson, Pipkin, I think, was their quarterback that got hurt. So Pipkin signed with them after getting cut by Toronto. McLeod Bethel Thompson, a young quarterback, nephew of Hall of Famer Jim Kelly. Chad Kelly, of course. I think Toronto's got good quarterbacking. You've got Jeremiah Mazzoli with Paul Lapolice and his creative offensive system in Ottawa. Evans in Hamilton.
He looked good. Mazzoli looked good. He only played one drive, but he marched him right down the field for a touchdown. 8 of 10 for a touchdown. I thought he looked really good. I think he's going to excel in the Paul Lapolice offense. Montreal, can he come back? Can he rebound?
Right.
He got hurt. Vernon Adams, he got hurt last year.
Yep.
He's going to have a big rebound year. The guy that's on the hot seat, I hate to bring it up, but the guy on the hot seat right now is Kari Jones.
Yes.
They need some success out there in Montreal.
I think Montreal can compete. I think Montreal is better than many people give them credit for. They got an excellent receiver group led by Jake Weineke and Geno Lewis. Like those, I'd take those two any day.
They just signed Chandler Worthy today.
Right. So there's another one, another receiving target. They got, in my opinion, the best running back in the Canadian football today. And, I think, with Kahari being on the hot seat, it's going to be a motivated team. The team always plays for Kahari. You listen to the guys talking about it. They like their head coach a lot. So, if we're aware that Kahari's on the hot seat, I'm thinking the team is probably aware as well.
It's funny you say that, because one of the knocks, and I've worked at CBC with Kahari, never had the great opportunity to play on the field with him. But everything you hear about him is exactly that. But he's such a nice guy that the Montreal ownership came and said to him, "Hey, listen, buddy, we love that you're this good guy. You're protecting your players. But remember, this is a team, Montreal, that took so many stupid penalties and cost them so many games last year." Yep. And they told Kahari, this is yours now. You're going to have to toughen up, and you're going to have to straighten these idiots out. So he knows it's do or die time with these idiots. You're going to get idiots taking penalties. You're not going to play. And that's what happens. Coaches have to get tough sometime. You got to say, hey, listen, I remember Cal Murphy would fine us. And we'd have to pay fine. Now we could go to Union, but you got to wait till 6 months to get your $25 back. It's just ridiculous. So I hope it works out. Kahari is a special person. I agree with you. Montreal, if Vernon Adams can turn it around, they got great receivers. I like what Ottawa's doing right now. They got a really good offensive line, which is nice to see in Ottawa. Hamilton, they're always good. I mean, Orlando Steinhauer, he's basically a clone of Michael O'Shea. They're the same type of coaches. I think they've got a good team as well. But I'm curious to watch guys like Andrew Harris in Toronto, Brandon Banks in Toronto, Jagarrett Davis, defensive line in Toronto.
Oh, he'll be good. Jagarrett is a beast, man. Whew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I put him right there with AC Leonard and the Jeffs here in Winnipeg with
good,
Jefferson and Jeffcoat. John Campbell, who is watching live on Facebook, which Philpott kid will have a better year? A Canadian rookie? Like, this is what I'll say about the Canadian rookies. Whoever has a better year in their rookie year, it'll show in 2023. We'll leave it at that. But thanks for the question, John.
You think that's true?
Yeah, so like a better year. One's gonna have 200 yards, one's gonna have 150. Like,
well, no, I just read it. Well, I think there's one in Calgary and one's in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
And the one in Montreal had, I guess, a standout day in training camp yesterday. So I mean,
it's tough for them to make an impact. Is all I'm saying.
Sure.
Whoever has a better year this year, Chris, is the one that's going to study harder, work out harder, learn the system better, and be ready for next year. That's just a reality, especially at skill positions like Andrew Harris. It took him 3 years to kind of get the ball rolling in his CFL career. Of course, coming from junior football. Nick Dembski, a first-round draft pick. It took him a couple years to get things going in Saskatchewan. They'll make, it's possible they could make something happen in special teams.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
A thing here and there, but, we'll still wait and see. I want to ask you this, Chris. How good can Edmonton be with the entire overhaul that Chris Jones was kind of handed and is implementing this year? Can they be with Calgary and Winnipeg and Saskatchewan? Or are they going to be more like a team like we'll kind of wait and see, like the BC Lions?
Well, I tell you what, they put so much pressure on this Nick Arbuckle kid, and I thought he played extremely well. The amount of time he played against Winnipeg in the last preseason in Winnipeg, let him down. I think he threw a touchdown. He rushed for a touchdown. I thought he played extremely well. Saw the field well. Anytime you got a Chris Jones, it's going to be unorthodox too, right? I mean, he picks up receivers, turns them to defensive ends. He just does things that are maybe off the chart a little bit. I think they've got a great chance. I mean, they can't be three. They were 3 wins. I think 3 wins or 4 last year. I guarantee they're not going to be that bad. They got a great owner who's really supporting that. They're bringing the fans back in the stands again, which is great. I just think the team that I just think BC is, unless, like you say, Nathan Rourke can really come out firing. I just can't see it right now. I mean, they just.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that from you either, Chris, because the knock on the BC Lions outside of quarterbacking, like the question mark post Mike Riley, is the offensive line. Like they couldn't protect the toughest quarterback the CFL has seen in, I don't know, a decade or more, probably more. Mike Riley could take an absolute beating, peel himself off the turf, and throw for another 250 yards the rest of the game. But the biggest knock is, can they protect? Can they play an offense and implement a system that protects their quarterback? It's one thing to have Mike Riley and have him knocked around all game. It's another to have a young guy and a smaller body in Nathan Rourke. I don't know if he's as tough as Mike Riley. I hope we don't have to find out for a long time.
I know that Chris Jones is really making an effort to sign offensive linemen. Whether he has to go with 3 Americans or not, I know he put Beard up.
Wait, you talking Edmonton or BC?
Edmonton. Sorry, I went to Edmonton again.
BC, yeah.
BC had some issues on the O-line. I think it was worse. Here's my off-the-wall prediction this year. Mike O'Reilly comes back. Off the wall, baby.
Holy. You're lost in pill country.
I'm seeing BC's going to have a struggle in the beginning.
Wow.
Nathan can't do it, and they say, "Hey, Mike, come on back."
That's
in Washington, so it's just a drive across the bridge.
Sure. Yeah, I just, like comments saying here, he'll miss a healthy Mike Riley, beast in his prime, no question. One of the best. I think he'll be in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. He well deserved to be in there. I mean, there's a lot of guys, but I mean, the fact that how he played and played injured, as you say, in a tough game. Your normal career is 4 years, right? I mean, this guy played a lot of years and he won a lot of things. So I just liked him. I've liked him as a player, and I know his name is Michael now, so you have to call him Mike O'Reilly.
Yep.
But I have this weird, like, little whispering in my ear.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll leave it. Maybe we'll have to leave it at that. I don't want you to give it away anything.
And what did I say it was? I said it's my off the wall prediction for the year.
Okay. I like it. Chris Walby has it here. You heard it here first on Bonfire Sports. Game day after dark. After the game tonight, maybe an hour or so after the game, Zach Schnitzer, my co-host on Bonfire Midweek, he'll join us for Game Day After Dark live right here on Bonfire Sports. All your links, bonfiresports.ca. Todd Moggy coming into the chat and interested, like all, I would say almost all of us, to see the battle for the number 2 quarterback spot. Chris, let's pull up the Blue Bombers roster of who's dressing in Regina tonight. You see those 2 quarterbacks, Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop on the top left of your screen. Everybody out there judging all of my bookmarks and folders up there. Go and give him a peek. It's okay. I don't mind. But yeah, Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop. Who are we going to see come out of these two? A couple other people chiming in right now. Brown has that number 2 spot. Prukop has to do something special. And this is an important one. CJ wants to know if you'll share a beer with him tonight, Chris.
Oh, God. Yeah, maybe. That's a possibility. I'm going to be watching the game with much interest and much happiness because I just love CFL. I think I love football, and it's great to see back on, man. That's what it is.
It's
great
nice
to be back with DB talking about this. And there's a comment in here, and I think he's right. I think the comment was he thinks that Mike Riley will probably end up coaching sooner or later, right there by comment.
Yeah.
That's a very astute comment. I'm actually quite surprised that BC didn't hire Michael this year and say, hey, just as a guest coach to contribute. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's why I think if he was really trying to get into the coaching, he would have went and did a guest coaching stint. But you're right. There's possibility of that as well.
Yeah, no question. You never know. Sometimes you're like Westy, right? Plays 17 years in the CFL, then shifts into a broadcasting role. His summers are eaten up every summer. I was talking to him yesterday, Chris, and like how happy he is to have a summer again and be at his son's soccer games and spend time at the lake and do all those things and not be kind of as tied down like you and I are. But maybe you and I are a little bit more football obsessed than the average bear. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I tell you, Westy's one of the good ones too. I mean, that's
absolutely. I miss doing games with that guy.
And actually, if you see him right now, Westy, in my opinion, could come out and kick right now.
Yeah,
I really do.
The Bombers might be calling.
He plays indoor soccer still. He's a heck of an athlete.
Yep.
And I'm surprised that I'm not getting struck by lightning bolts for blowing up a kicker. But hey, he can play. And I think we were joking one day, and he's and I think he basically said I'll kick these guys, but he probably look at Bob paid what Bob Cameron punted for 23 I think 23 years.
Crazy.
I think your buddy in BC played 26 years. Think about it, 26 years. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but they're kickers. You see the ball maybe 5, 6, 7 times a game. So you work it out. It's like playing for 2 years.
I'm highlighting the kicker and punter position right above your screen there on the Bombers roster of who is dressing in Regina tonight. We're going to watch Mark Leggio and Ali Murtada punt and kick again. They split the duties pretty evenly between punting and kicking, both of them doing that in that first preseason game against Edmonton here in Winnipeg, Chris. But as this is what I wanted to draw attention to. We talked about Dakota Prukop. We talked about Drew Brown. But it's the receivers in Winnipeg that are going to be it's going to be a very competitive position group to watch tonight. Shout out to Luke McMillan, who's had a heck of a training camp. He is a Winnipeg Rifles junior player himself. If you look to the right of your screen, number 14 and number 15, Joseph Funk Clements and Kyle Chorney, two Winnipeg Rifles that'll dress tonight. Miguel Lino, number 62, the offensive lineman, did not travel to Regina, the Winnipeg Rifles offensive lineman, been in camp with the Blue Bombers throughout. He's a little bit under the weather, so kind of stinks for him that he will not dress tonight. But when it comes to these receivers, BJ Muckelveen, banged up in training camp, Chris, haven't seen much of him at all, but early in camp and in rookie camp showed a lot. Antonio Nunn made a highlight reel catch in training camp. I know a lot of people like the creativity of this name. The man named after the burger, Whop Fillier, is one that's going to be competing. Blake Jackson is an individual who was injured in training camp with Winnipeg last season. The Blue Bombers are extremely high on him. Dalton Schoen, perfect 4 for 4 off the arm of Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop last game. He's been getting first team reps throughout training camp. You got Lucky Jackson, TJ Simmons, along with Rashid Bailey, the veteran, of course. He'll dress tonight. But the one I want people to maybe pay most attention to tonight, Chris, number 84, son of prolific Toronto Argonauts running back Doyle Orange, and that's 2020 Blue Bombers draft pick Brendan O'Leary Orange, University of Nevada, big body and talented pass catcher the Blue Bombers have. I see this guy pushing Drew Wolodarski for that one of those Canadian receiver spots this season.
Well, then he's got to get a catch.
Yep.
Got to throw a ball on him. He played 5 games in 2020. He didn't have a catch. Hasn't had a catch yet. Didn't get a ball thrown his direction last game.
Right. Didn't dress last game. Yeah.
Well, that's why he probably didn't have a catch, but still, he's got to make a name for himself here as well, right? I mean, if you're going to go competition and Drew's got himself already entrenched there, Wolodarski, then if Brennan, and I know they like him, but
yeah,
you know, all the stats in the world of what you did in college and who your heritage is and where you come and your lineage and all who your dad was, your grandfather, it don't hold beans unless you can perform. So
that's true.
I need to see him do something today, and I'm not taking away the guy that I like, and I'm going to go opposite of you. The guy that I think has really got a great shot is Dalton Schoen.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I like this kid. He played in a number of NFL camps. Great attitude, fast, got good speed, great hands, as you said. He caught every ball, I think, when it was thrown his way, or he had 4 catches anywhere. This is going to be, as you say, there's a lot of really, really tough decisions to be made. I don't know. Maybe you can refresh me. When is the cut down day for the Bombers? Because I'm not sure when the cut down day is, because exhibition is still going on for, I think, until Friday.
Right.
So is it Saturday? You know, they would have a universal cut down day.
Right. So I'm just going to pull my old schedule here, and this is before the work stoppage, middle of May. But CFL rosters needed to be cut down to 75 on the 17th. That got shifted, and it became, they had to cut down to 75 plus non-counters. Those are like, it's a bit of a list of what makes you a non-counter, but essentially rookies and guys that hadn't participated in games or professional training camps. The Blue Bombers had to do that on Saturday. They announced them on Sunday morning. You can find more of who made the team and the current rosters. Go to bonfiresports.ca, hit the news link, and you will find the way too early depth chart. That's this right here, as well as the full roster by position, and it's numerical within the position. But so each CFL team needs to cut down to 75 plus non-counters the day after their first preseason game. So for the Roughriders, that'll be tomorrow. There is no word or clarity on when they need to cut down again prior to the regular season. So injured lists affect it greatly. And if you put a guy on the 6 game, or you put a guy on the 1 game injured list to start the year, it gives you that roster flexibility and that space. CFL Transactions Wire has some details on that. The Blue Bombers did place Mercy Maston on the injured list, so it's looking like a long-term injury. No official word from head coach Mike O'Shea. We'll wait for the words from the Blue Bombers officially before we declare anything on that.
Yeah, I believe the last exhibition game is on Friday. I believe. I could be wrong.
Well, here's the schedule.
Okay, what was the last one? Friday?
Yeah, Friday, Saskatchewan in Vancouver. And that game, I believe, is on TSN as well. That's a nice late one.
So, yeah, that'll be nice. I'll probably be sleeping. I'm old already. But the rest of those guys. But, yeah, it's probably going to be Sunday or Monday when they cut, because you got to allow the team on Friday to go back, look at the film, break it down, and then make a decision. But then you realize that the first game is what? There it is. Friday, June 6th. What is that? Pull it up there.
June 9th. Yeah. Yeah, and then the Bombers' first preseason or first regular season game will be June 10th here in Winnipeg against the Red Blacks. But
yeah, Friday. Okay, so Thursday and Friday. So I mean, you got to have guys got to get cut because they got to get their roster set together to play, and then want to have a couple of days of practice with your finalized roster. So that's what I think.
Somebody in the chat here says someone compared you, Chris, to the Blue Bombers' new offensive lineman signing. Fair? I wouldn't compare. Like, I think they're talking about Liam Dobson.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, they make comparison. I guess he's got a mean streak.
Yeah, maybe the mean streak. I wouldn't compare it like the type of O-lineman he is, Chris. He's a very wide, low to the ground, bulldozer type. You, if I recall correctly, you were a bulldozer, but you were also able to kick out to tackle and maybe a little bit more fleet of foot and agile.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Listen, everything I've heard about this kid is fantastic. So I think it's a fair comment at this point in time. Well, we'll see how it plays out. I wish the guy nothing but a long career and much success. So, I hope he goes out there and just kills it.
Absolutely. Comet asking for a Winston Rose update. We touched on this just a little while ago. If you miss any of the show, you can watch the replay on YouTube, on Facebook, and the podcast will be available very soon. I might have to grab a bite to eat, and then I'll get the podcast up. Well, maybe I'll push that. I'll get the podcast up available as soon as we're done the show. You can find all those links to Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio and the rest, wherever you listen to your podcast. Google, you can find it on bonfiresports.ca. Winston Rose spotted in a walking boot at practice day before yesterday, and that would be Monday, I guess, right, Chris? Is that right?
Yep.
Is it Wednesday today? And no, it's Tuesday. What are we talking about?
Oh, I better not put my garbage out.
Don't put your garbage out.
Well, now have to go until Thursday. Woo!
Right. It's Tuesday. So Sunday was the Blue Bombers' only on-field session prior to tonight's game. And Winston Rose was in a walking boot. Nothing official. Mike O'Shea, I asked him directly, had no update on Winston Rose as of yet. But this is what we do know. A walking boot does not necessarily mean a serious injury. It can be preventative. So we will probably hear from Mike O'Shea next on Winston Rose. I'm thinking in about 2 or 3 days. Yeah. So that's about the norm for the Blue Bombers, for Mike O'Shea. Nothing immediate ever. So I'm thinking later this week. So keep it locked here to Bonfire Sports. We'll keep you updated on the latest on that. Chris, what about kicker? This is Richard chiming in saying, I hope Leggio shows well. Would love to see us develop a Canadian kicker into an all-star. Had too many released early only to have success elsewhere. I understand that, but I can't think of anybody as of recent, at least in the Kyle Walters era, who the Blue Bombers cut and then found, CFL success elsewhere. I know it's happened years gone by, but Felix Menard-Briere, nothing panned out. So, of course they would like to develop. Mark Leggio has superb numbers in college, but as our buddy Troy Westwood used to say, Chris, 95% of it is between the ears. And, it's that mental adjustment to professional football that's going to serve Mark Leggio the best, right?
Well, you think about a kicker when they come in and you got no time left and you got to kick a 40-plus yard field goal to win a game or lose a game. that's about as much pressure as you can put on any young man. So I think, yeah, but I want to just say two things before we shut down the show.
Yeah.
Two guys that I'm going to watch tonight. And I told you before that I'll be watching the line. I want to watch the line. I hope they have good camera work on this game. I really want to see, as the guy mentioned, Liam Dobson, number 64. And I'm really curious because I didn't think I watched him. I caught his name last time on the broadcast. I was watching some film. Tomoya Machino, Japanese lad. Really going to watch those two guys and see how they play because, I mean, right now they're looking pretty good, both those guys. And listen, it's not an easy guy, not an easy thing to try and make an offensive line or make this team on offensive line because you're basically all your 5 starters are sitting at home right now, which I've never seen in an exhibition game.
Yep. And we hope Pat Neufeld is okay. Hasn't practiced much in training camp. Mike Miller, the future Hall of Famer, the Bombers special team ace, has not practiced for quite a stretch of time. Same with Greg Ellingson, the Blue Bombers free agent signing. Perennial 1,000-yard receiver. So none of those guys are in Regina. None of those guys have practiced in a long stretch of time. I asked head coach Mike O'Shea about those 3 individuals. And it was funny because I'm like, could you give us an update on these 3? And he goes, you want me to go one by one? I said, yeah, please. And O'Shea said, yeah, they should all be okay. So we didn't get individual details on those 3, but he does expect them to be ready for the regular season on June 10th. And of course, that'll be our next edition of Game Day Winnipeg with you, Chris Walby, here on Bonfire Sports.
You know what? We should get t-shirts made and just have it on the front. They should be okay.
Yeah, should be fine. We're hopeful. Hopeful should be fine.
Hope will be fine.
Yeah, I just put a sticker on today. That's all I did. I got some stickers.
Well, I checked my mailbox every day. Didn't see no Bonfire shirt coming yet.
Well, your hat looks good. Looks like you've been getting the wear out. Yours is dirtier than mine. I've been trying to keep mine clean. You've been wearing yours though.
Yeah, I do. I'm a hat guy. I wear hats all the time.
Well, if you wear it around the fire, Chris, at the lake, the only person seeing it is Stan Mikowas sitting across from you with a cold one.
Well, he's probably sitting beside me.
Oh, you guys snuggle up next to the bonfire?
Yeah, I got Mikowas opening my beers right now.
Oh, yeah? What, do you lose a bet?
He's my pet friend. Not gonna like that, but that's okay.
Chris, last thing I'm gonna do here is pull up bonfiresports.ca. That's where you want to head for everything you need on game day during the practice week. You're going to find everything you need here. There's all of your links to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as all of our podcast links. If you don't see your link there, like to the podcast app you like to use, search Bonfire Sports. You will find it. And then, of course, a link to our pregame show, Game Day After Dark. Right there on the bottom left, we'll have that going after the game tonight. And then, of course, Bonfire Midweek, 2nd edition, coming Wednesday night, 7:30, live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And the podcast available soon after, as always. Appreciate the support. We've been getting lots of viewers and engagement.
Right
and hit the hotline. Do it right now. If you're watching the game and you want to let your hot take fly or you're fired up, call 816-8477. Leave a voicemail. I'll play you on the postgame show on Game Day After Dark. Or you can text, just like texting your mama. So standard rates apply.
And Darrin, for all those breweries out there, those microbreweries, get on the wagon here, boys. Sponsor us. I tell you, you'll love it. I'll push it. I love beer. So, there's a lot of guys. Come on, man. Yeah,
we're thirsty over here. We'll let everyone know what's quenching our thirst. So you can hit the hotline for that too. But big thanks to everybody for tuning in live. And if you're watching a recording of this, thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe on Facebook and on YouTube. It helps us a lot. appreciate all of that support. Shout out to a couple of our sponsors, easyevinstall.ca, as well as Scotswood Links, beautiful golf course in Elm Creek, Manitoba. You can find them at scotswoodlinks.ca. Shout out to Comet and Leighton, Richard, Poopy Pants as well, CJ Diddick, everybody who was in the live chat today. Thanks so much for that. Chris, last word for you.
I'm just happy, boys. I tell you what, this is what everybody's been waiting for. I mean, listen, you got the game tonight. You have probably one of the best rivalries in the CFL in Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Yes. It ain't the Badger Bowl. It ain't Labor Day, but boy, it's going to be a fantastic game. A lot of opportunities for young men to show something and build for the future. So enjoy the game, because you know what, boys? I will.
Yeah, I will too. And we're still working on the graphics for Game Day with Chris Walby, but we'll play a little midweek outro video. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Here's the other thing, DB. Sort of before we leave.
Yeah.
If anybody has ideas, they can shoot a text, email, get a hold of DB as far as what you'd like to hear our intro music.
Oh.
Hey,
well, I don't want to have to pay, $82 million for a Beatles song. Okay. So,
oh no, we're not going to do Beatles. It's got to be something upbeat, man.
Well, I can't afford AC/DC either. So, what am I supposed to do?
Oh, okay. All right.
You're killing.
I'll get myself a ukulele and just play my own thing.
There you go. Hey, maybe you out there have a song that you think would fit. Maybe you and your band, or you're doing it in your studio at home. Hit up the hotline. Let us know. But appreciate everyone for watching, and we'll see you on Game Day After Dark right here on Bonfire Sports.
Adios, my friends. Go Blue. Bingo. I'll leave.